Training, yeah, possibly so. Small-sided games, you know, have a smash, yeah, when it doesn't matter, obviously, but...
We're just seeing here Messi hit the post. It's a Messi goal. You've seen a billion times. Cuts in from the right-hand side and centre of the box, edge of the area. Hits it right off the post, far corner. Lloris was probably beaten. Here's Harry Kane at the other end. Cuts back inside, right foot. Great goal, Harry Kane. What a goal. Kenny, talk us through that. That's a really good goal.
Yeah. Typical Harry Kane goal. You could see it coming, Joe, before the ball hit the back of the net. Just inside the penalty box on the left-hand side, kind of feigns to kind of shoot crossed off his left foot, but you know he's not going to take it on. Yeah. Kids on the defender, checks it back. Semedo goes to ground, and before they can get cover over, he shifts it onto his right foot, takes it first time, and you know what's coming then, just inside of the right foot bend, inside the far corner. But good, decent build-up from Spurs, almost a counter-attacking breakaway goal. Lamela involved, just feeds it to Kane. He's still got a lot to do. Like I said, just shifts it onto his left foot, sits down the defender. Semedo, a little bit of inexperience there. He's defended well first half. Semedo hasn't gone to ground. He's a good athlete.
It's a great goal, though,
just kids him on. The thing is, Joe doesn't take another touch to steady himself. Checks it with his left foot onto his right before PK can get across. He's got a clear picture what he wants to do. That's a relatively easy finish for him. We've seen that plenty of times before inside of his right foot.
As you say, the key thing was not taking the extra touch because PK was going to try and charge out, but there wasn't enough time. Kane hit it early and suddenly it's 2-1, which makes things a bit more interesting. 53 minutes on the clock at Wembley.
It's always the case with Barcelona, Joe. If you can get enough good possession, high up the pitch, you know, get beyond their midfield and at that defensive unit, there's opportunities there, you know what I mean? There's slight weaknesses there, you know, particularly like I said, PK, as good a player as he is, getting around him, you can shift him. You know what I mean? You can get around him. You can get the better of him. So, yeah, huge encouragement now for Tottenham. But Barcelona for me still, Messi still. He's got that bit of an eye to target look about him.
Yeah, well, it's amazing, isn't it? Football. Spurs could have been 3-0 down, and it's a horrendous performance. And suddenly it's 2-1 in the space of 10 seconds. Lamela going again. Do you like Lamela?
He's winning me over a little bit.
Yeah, he's having a decent start to the season.
Yeah, it was interesting because Pochettino stuck with him. It would have been very easy to cut him loose at different stages of his career there, but he stuck with him and he's backed him publicly. And I wouldn't say he's gone out on a limb for him, but you know, he's really backed him up as often as possible, and he's had his opportunities this year and hasn't played every game, but when he's come off the bench, Joe, by and large, he's impacted the game.
Yeah, we're seeing Dele Alli looking on from the crowd, and Eriksen's there as well. So elsewhere this evening, it's still 0-0 in Napoli. Naby Keita gone off injured, back injury, stretchered off. Looks serious-ish to you? Hard to know with a back injury?
Yeah, hard to know. It could be anything, Joe. I mean, he got carted off in the steps. That could be anything. A back spasm, you know, a bit of a back spasm. That could be gone after. It could be slightly more serious than that. But like we said before, Joe, so much quality in that central area of the pitch. Henderson comes straight on.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
So 0-0 there, 52 minutes in the clock. And elsewhere this evening, Griezmann had put Atletico 1-0 up at home to Club Brugge. It's now 1-1 in that game, 56 minutes gone there. Borussia Dortmund 1-0 up against Monaco, also in Group A. In Group B, Inter have equalised. They were 1-0 down against PSV. It's now 1-1 in that game. As we've just said, same group. It's Spurs 1, Barcelona 2. And then Group D, Porto 1, Galatasaray 0. Earlier on this afternoon, the big result, I suppose, was that PSG beat Red Star Belgrade by 6-1. Stick in your cans there, Kenny, because Graham Souness was looking on. He was watching Neymar do his thing, you know, scoring certainly 2 goals. I'll double check now how many he scored in the end.
I think I might suspect what's coming.
Hat-trick for Neymar. 20, 22nd and 81st minutes for Neymar, along with Cavani and Di Maria and Mbappe. It's ridiculous, the players they're calling on. So they won 6-1. Neymar, hat-trick hero. And speaking on Virgin Media Sport this evening, Graham Souness asked about just how impressive it is what Neymar's doing.
I think he's taken the easy option in going to PSG. And why would you leave Barcelona with a chance to play with Suarez and especially Messi? I think he's taken the easy option in going there. He won't have as many hard games. And you mentioned, should the manager be pointing out to him about slack play? You know where it comes from? You know where, in my time, it came from the senior players. Pointing out to you, we don't do that here. We do things correct.
If
he's way beyond that.
If he's the big fish there, there's nobody there to say it to him.
Barca, someone might have been saying that to him.
We'll come back to Neymar in just a second. You said Neymar had the look of a killer tonight. It's 3-1 Barcelona. Guess who?
It's not Neymar. Lionel Messi, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just wonderful play again from Barcelona. Messi just switching play again. We've seen that ball a couple of times, just switching the play out to Alba. And invariably when Alba gets into these positions, it's always a cutback, Joe, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's always a cutback in front of the defenders. And fair play to Messi. He's played the original ball out to Alba, but he hasn't stood still. And he's arrived late into the box. Cut back straight into his path. Little step over from Suarez. I think he anticipates where Messi is. Actually bounces up a little bit in front of him.
Takes it so calmly.
Yeah, doesn't need 2 touches. Side foot, so back across the goalkeeper into the corner.
That's brilliant finish. Hey, an interesting point you raised there. You say Barcelona, it's always a cutback. As a defender, did you prefer when they put it into the quote-unquote corridor of danger, so at least you might be able to slide in and stop it, whereas if they pull it back behind you, nothing you can do. You're relying on your midfielders then, I presume. Yeah,
you're right. It's something which is, say, it's crept more into the game. We're seeing a lot more of it now. And you're right, Joe, because invariably as a defender, you're heading towards your goal. Your momentum is taking you towards the goal. So in some respects, although people say the ideal ball is to that corridor of uncertainty, to a certain extent, you're happy to see it because your body momentum, you're actually pointing towards your own goal. You know, you're stepping in that direction anyway. So it's, for me, potentially even a little bit easier. But that kind of cutback,
you're out of the game.
Absolutely kills you. Yeah, you've got to plant your foot. You've got to head in the opposite direction. It's almost impossible. And then sometimes when you try and anticipate it, the actual cutback, it's like that. There's a voice screaming in your ear, what are you doing? If you step ahead of the ball, the man in possession or wide, you step ahead of him anticipating a cutback, it feels all wrong.
Yeah.
You're giving up that area as much as you know it's the right thing to do. Maybe even there's nobody attacking that space in behind you. Every body part is that defensive instinct is telling you, whoa, don't vacate that area. It's difficult. And then when they move it that quickly, one touch, the movement, people arrive quickly. It's a killer. It's
something for any young wingers outside to think of listening in. Virgin Media Sports, where Graham Souness was speaking on there, the new home of European football in Ireland. More than 400 UEFA Champions League, Europa League, Nations League games this season. Virgin Media Sport, exclusive to all Virgin Media TV customers who can download the TV Anywhere app as well and stream all the action whenever and wherever they like. So Souness isn't impressed with Neymar and the choices he's made, and a hat-trick against Red Star when they're winning 6-1 isn't going to win him over. He feels almost the senior player sets the tone, and there's a sloppy tone at PSG because it's Neymar setting it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree in terms of how he felt about Neymar's decision in joining PSG. It wasn't motivated in terms of, well, how can I improve as a footballer? Because as a football consideration, is to make an argument for leaving Barcelona, to that kind of football environment, the players he had around him at that particular time. So you'd have to say the motivation going to PSG was a monetary one. Clearly he had more money in his pocket, and a bit of ego as well, in terms he was going there, he was going to be the main man, he wasn't going to share the spotlight necessarily with Messi or leave him play in the shadow of Messi, which everybody does. So
and also he could have been the main man at lots of other clubs in tougher leagues. I think the idea of a fairly easy life, beating everybody up in France, probably appealed to him as well.
I was disappointed, to be honest with you, because I mean, as the very best, to have that kind of skill set, which he has, surely the motivation must be to prove it at the very highest level.
Well, that stunned his development.
Yeah, I think it does. Yeah, I think it does. I think it's an obvious thing to say, and you experience that even in club football, whatever level that you're playing at. If you do make a step up to a different level in terms of the quality players around you, it does have an effect on you in terms of, your game understanding improves, even your technical levels. I think you push yourself, you drive yourself a little bit more to attain the standard which you see around you on the training pitch. I think that's a natural thing, a competitive thing. You push yourself as an athlete, as a competitor. So yeah, so I'm not saying he hasn't got that at PSG. Obviously some quality players around, but certainly in terms of the league and the opposition and how much he's being stretched and tested on a week-to-week basis.
Do you think PSG would have a better chance of winning the Champions League if they played in England or Germany or Spain?
Yeah, I think that's a fair argument. Yeah, I really do, because in terms of having to the step up in terms of quality that they're having to experience every 6 weeks or whatever it is, to find that extra level, that switch, it doesn't happen so easily.
Liverpool and Chelsea this week, going from a high quality game like that into
absolutely. You're finely tuned. Your body, your mind, they're in sync. It's almost like a computer. Whereas PSG, it's not the case. It clearly isn't the case.
I tell you who wouldn't mind playing in Ligue 1 for a couple of weeks, Kenny. Jose Mourinho. So, the fallout from the very undramatic draw with Valencia last night was plenty dramatic. Mourinho's had to go with the police. We'll get to that in a second. I mean, it's just fantastic, isn't it?
Manchester, nightclub saying it'll be next time. Who else is going to get it in Manchester?
So, I mean, if we chart the evening, BT Sport had the game. Step in, Paul Scholes. Here we go.
I'm actually sat here surprised that he survived after Saturday. The performance was that bad. We'll go on to show clips of attitude and performance. It just wasn't nowhere near. And he's coming out in press conferences. He's constantly having a go at players. He's having a go at people above him because he's not getting what he wants. And I think his mouth is probably out of control, and I think he's embarrassing the club.
So embarrassing the club, surprised he hasn't gone already, is what Scholes had to say. This was put to Mourinho afterwards in the press conference. So here's all of Mourinho's press conference. Will you just leave your headphones in? What are you doing to me? Right, here's Mourinho afterwards, and Paul Scholes' comments were put to him.
We left the hotel at 6 o'clock, hoping that 30 minutes would be enough, which normally is. But this time the police refused to do an escort, so we came by ourselves. And we took from the Lowry Hotel, we took 75 minutes. And the UEFA, they were nice. The referee was nice to allow us to start the game 5 minutes later, because at least we need half an hour to be prepared. But was not a problem with the club organization. We tried everything. We anticipate the fact that maybe could be dangerous. Dangerous in the sense of arriving late. But we were informed that the police refused an escort. I think there are things that is difficult for me to say, and if I say it's not good for me, and even yourself would be getting another reason to criticize me, I think you have enough. So I prefer just to say that when last season we finished second, we finished runners-up in the FA Cup. We won our group in the Champions League, and I told it was a fantastic season. I knew why I was telling that.
Paul Scholes has been incredibly critical of you before the game. He said...
I don't need to know what he said.
Yeah.
No.
He said you're embarrassing the club zone.
No, he says what he wants to say.
I mean, it is...
I'm not interested.
Do you not think he's crossing the line with what he said?
I'm not interested. Honestly, I'm not interested. Freedom of speech. Free country. You can say what you want.
I don't want to know what he said. He said you're embarrassing the club, Jose.
He was desperate to get that line in, wasn't he? He was going to get it in one way or the other.
So that was Mourinho.
I thought he handled it reasonably well. It's not an easy one, that the Paul Scholes comment, if you really want to get into that. I think you just have to bat it away. To be fair to him, he tried to do. It's the police thing I don't... I mean, is he suggesting like there was some kind of covert operation here on behalf of the... Conspiracy, yeah. With
Manchester
the
City
police,
police.
To embarrass him and...
Well, the police have had to respond. Nobody in Manchester is safe from the toxicity of Jose Mourinho. So the police have had to issue a statement. Chief Inspector Andy Sutcliffe, he says, all police deployments are carried out following a comprehensive risk assessment process, specifically in respect of escort team buses. They're only ever undertaken on occasions where there is intelligence or information to suggest a risk or a threat to or a threat of harm to the players. So he says the police service have previously used police vehicles to accompany a team's coach. They said after a review of core policing responsibilities, it was decided that we would no longer provide the service at every fixture. So he then says, we consulted with all the relevant football clubs over a period of months. We allowed them adequate time to plan ahead their journeys to the stadium. He says that every fixture is assessed individually. We'll continue to work with all the clubs to provide appropriate policing. So, you know, he's saying that we've let the clubs know. But that's the
fault of someone in the office at Old Trafford, surely. It is, surely somebody should have been having that conversation in the days or week prior to the game.
Months, he says. Yeah. So, we have had a goal at Wembley, and it's suddenly Spurs 2, Barcelona 3. We mentioned Lamela. It's his strike, but it's a deflection ultimately, which beats the keeper, Kenny.
Yeah, but fair play to him. He's got on the ball in a key area of the pitch, 5-6 yards outside the penalty box, open his body up. Why not? If it doesn't get the deflection, it's not going to go into the net. But fair play to him. He's taking responsibility, and this happens. This isn't coincidence. You take enough shots. I think we might have this conversation from a year or two previously. You know, you can call it, a good look, but you take enough of those shots on in that area of the pitch, you will. The law of averages say you will get deflection in your favour sooner or later, and that's what happened.
How many of our conversations from a year or two previously do you remember? Do you log them all? Do you have a little book afterwards when you're on off the ball and you put them down?
My memory's not the best, but that one's stuck in my mind.
I'd say we were talking about Lampard. I'd say that's how it came up.
Is that what it was? Yeah.
Lampard
but it's a fact.
Yeah, Lloris, dodgy back pass. He's survived okay. Or has he?
Not a dodgy touch.
This could be a goal for Messi. It's a last-ditch tackle. What a mess. Lloris, it was a hospital pass, and Lloris knocked it by one Barcelona player and then just about got it away from the other Barcelona player. Well, actually didn't, because it was knocked into Messi's path. And
it was a bad back pass from Joe. Originally, he done well. He just took it off the toes of Suarez, and obviously it got away from him, but I certainly wouldn't point the finger at him in that respect. Just don't shoot themselves in the foot. They're back in the game, 3-2.
Yeah.
20, 25 minutes to go. Just remain calm, keep your composure. Almost just sit into your shape for a few minutes, before you try to push again. Don't get too cavalier, too excited, open up too much, because they've shown already in this game, Barcelona, how effective they can be, counter-attack.
So anyway, Jose Mourinho's been into the Old Trafford office today and given someone hell, do your job. So that person's feeling bad. Instagram, Kenny, we've established a long time ago you're not a social media man, but somebody on Instagram was at Old Trafford, didn't think much of the game. They said, I'm not even surprised by the outcome of this game. I always look forward to our games, but recently Mourinho has made it a punishment now. Something needs to change. Mourinho has to go. Antonio Valencia saw this and said, like. So he liked it. He has had to quickly get his agency to write him up an apology today. He said, these are not my views. I apologise for this. I am fully supportive of the manager and my teammates. We are all giving everything to improve the results. He said he only half read the post on Instagram, and that's when he liked it. That's his excuse.
So which half is he referring to? It was all pretty critical.
It starts with, I'm not even surprised by the outcome of this game, so I don't know which part he likes.
Yeah, even that. Even that's a little bit damning to the manager, any part of that particular statement.
So he's had to roll back. And then finally, Paul Pogba passed through the mix zone last night and then asked for comment by reporters, and he told reporters, I've been told I'm not allowed. Not surprisingly. And so there we are. This was the story at Old Trafford after another really, really bad game. Do you think Mourinho wants to stay? Do you think he wants to turn it around? Are you starting to wonder?
It's difficult to get into his mindset. You constantly think back to the end of his time at Chelsea, when things were going wrong, began to come apart. And in those situations, generally you think a manager would kind of try and circle the wagon, say a little bit less, maybe kind of be a bit more protective of his players, a bit more conciliatory, try and get them on board, more of a softer tone. Yeah. But at that time at Chelsea, went the opposite way, didn't he? He started throwing hand grenades all around the dressing room. It was almost as if, I'm going here. Yeah. That's it. I'm gonna go out with a bang. I'm gonna take people. I'm gonna go down. I'm gonna take people with me. So you maybe just get the sense of that a little bit. At the moment, I mean, the police thing is an absolute farce. It's ridiculous. It's just, why bring more of that? Just bringing more onto himself. There's no need for it.
Well, especially when Paul Scholes has said he's embarrassing the club with his carry-on and then having to go with the police. I mean, maybe the police should have had an escort. It sounds like the police have had no issues elsewhere.
Well, I do cringe a little bit. It's not a nice thing to hear that. And people might say, oh, he's an ex-player, but we shouldn't be saying that. But do you know what? Why not? Because I think there's truth to it. And I give Paul Scholes credit in terms of being Manchester United through and through. And when he's speaking like that, it's coming from the heart. It's actually coming from a good place. It's not like I've got an opportunity here to stick the knife into Mourinho here on a personal level. Yeah. I genuinely feel it's coming from the right place. And I agree with him. Because in terms of how he's conducted himself, and I'm not talking about the last couple of weeks here, Joe, I'm talking about the last year and a half, and I refer back Europa League and comments about players like Luke Shaw, Jones, Smalling, and just the tone, and just in terms of not really embracing the job and, the negative vibes coming out, all of that. For a long period of time, I've looked at it and thought, Rio, come on, seriously. You're not going to embrace the thing. You're in a fantastic position there.
Considering as well that this was his dream job, considering he wanted to go to Manchester United for such a long time, ever since really Porto beat them at Old Trafford, and he kind of got a feel for the place. He talked about Manchester United in glowing terms. So he had an appreciation for what Manchester United is and the club's standing. He almost had a sort of reverence for it. And then you would think he might go in and have a certain amount of respect for the club that still has Bobby Charlton there and still, you know, has Alex Ferguson around the place. A certain amount of reverence for it. And actually, he's kind of just pissed all over it, really, with his general behaviour. Like, he's dragged it into this nonsense.
Yeah, but where's that coming from? What place is that bad behaviour, that kind of negativity? And there must be a direct correlation there in terms of where they are, in terms and how far behind very quickly he's found himself in terms of who's above him.
Yeah.
The Guardiola influence at Manchester City, the type of football they're playing, the plaudits, how successful they've been. I think that those type of things are kind of feeding it underneath. I think that's absolutely killing them.
Yeah.
So I think, generally speaking, Manchester United, the regard he holds for football club, I buy into all of that. But I think very quickly, when he realised, well, hold on, there's a significant gap here, and actually I'm heading the wrong direction.
Yeah.
And that little bit of feeling powerless, demanding money, not quite getting as much, spending money and not getting value for money for the money he spent, and it all not coming together.
Yeah.
I think that must be driving. That's what's fundamentally.
Well then maybe here's another question. So that clearly bugs him. And the plaudits that Guardiola gets, and the plaudits that Klopp gets, and the plaudits that Sarri's going to get this year for the football they'll play. Do you think Jose Mourinho can coach attacking football? Can get a team playing really expansive, brilliant football? I'm thinking of, remember Chelsea, there was a period when Robin and Duff were at their very best, and they were playing brilliant football and scoring lots of goals. So Mourinho's at Manchester United. Why can't he get all these creative players to play brilliant football?
Yeah, but that's a big question, Joe, and I think there's a lot of things to talk about there. You can talk about tactically in terms of the tactical setup of the team, which we have done on a number of occasions in terms of set up the team, right?
I'm talking tactically primarily. Why can't he? Why are they so defensive primarily, and always have been under Mourinho? He's been a defensive coach. Does he have it in his locker to actually go out?
He has been a defensive coach, but I don't mind that. For me, every manager for me must have that kind of, to a certain element of the defensive mindset. Even if you're like a coach who's, say, obsessed with so-called attacking football.
Yeah.
I want to dominate. We want to be a possession-based team. You hear a lot of this now.
Yeah.
Well, if you have that mentality as a manager, you better be a good defensive team.
Well,
because you need to be a good defensive team to win the ball back to begin with, to even have it.
I'm not saying they shouldn't defend well. I'm saying a defensive team. They don't attack. And they don't even.
You're talking about how they attack. You're talking about the style.
Yeah, I'm talking about the chances they create against West Ham.
Well, that's different.
They can't create chances under Mourinho. They don't. They're blunt. And I'm wondering, does one of the best coaches in the world of the last 20 years, Champions League winner, league winners, 3, respect, all this stuff, all this nonsense. Why can't they create chances?
Yeah.
Why can't he do it?
It is fascinating because he has such a good reputation in terms of his qualities on the training pitch. John Terry recently spoke about the quality of his sessions, the kind of preparation in terms of team shape, organisation. You saw that with a number of his teams, really cohesive, real clear understanding what was required of them in possession, set patterns of play, compact defensive shape, never getting all those things. We saw that.
It's not just go out and play, lads.
Yeah, we have. Yeah, no, it isn't. It isn't. Yeah. But this Manchester United team of late, we haven't quite seen it. We've seen him deviate from shape to shape. We saw him go to a back 3 again.
Yeah.
At the weekend. For me, I've never seen, when he's gone to that 3, they've never looked comfortable for me. They've never looked comfortable because they look a little bit uncertain in terms of what's required of them. So then you might question, well, how are they doing the work on the training pitch? Tactically, does the shape suit the players? And you know how I like to see Manchester United play. It was the way they set up against Bayern a couple of weeks ago. 4-3-3, Matic sitting, Pogba in another. It's got to be Fred. They spend 55 million on this lad. I don't know why he's not in the team. They've got to get him into the team alongside Pogba in those number 8 positions and get them 2 players in contact with the front 3. Take your pick. Yeah. For me, it's Lukaku, Rashford, and another. Probably Martial or Lingard. Sanchez doesn't get into my team, and that's a good starting point for me. Dalmot, the right back, looks an outstanding talent. Luke Shaw is playing well. For me, it's Chris Small and another. So that's the template going forward. But I'm not seeing enough of it. I'm seeing him jumping from system to system.
He doesn't have a clue what his team is.
Rotation of players as well. It's not working. I
don't even think it's rotation. I think what Klopp's doing is rotation. I think what Mourinho, it's just a bit of panic. It's a bit of searching in the dark. Don't see any method to it. Like, what Klopp is doing is rotation. It's the similar shape and it's different.
The basic system, I agree with you totally. If that's what I'm saying, I don't understand why he's jumping from one to the other. The back 3 against at the weekend at West Ham.
McTominay. Like, what was that about?
Yeah, on a load of different levels. You saw the goal, the last Arnautovic goal, McTominay, the distance between him and Smalling getting too big, not kind of sensing the danger. So that's kind of positional sense that you need to know the position to understand, you know, so he didn't. And then on a personal level, Boye, the money they've spent, an out-and-out centre-half, having to sit on the bench and watch a young, up-and-coming central midfield player drop in there, psychologically, that's tough to deal with as a reasonably experienced pro. So on a load of different levels, that kind of decision...
Yeah, that is not rotation.
That is not rotation.
That is not rotation. So, I mean, so we got to go to an ad break, so we're going to talk about the Steve Bruce situation and Villa. Mourinho, as an attacking coach, the chances that Manchester United create, I don't know how they go about creating their chances. You know what I mean? If you were to say, how do City create chances, I can see moves in my head. If you say, how do Liverpool score goals, we can all suddenly see pictures in our head. How do Manchester United score goals?
Well, I think close to the starting, the 11 kind of I spoke about earlier. For me, from an attacking point of view, I get excited when I see that team. I can see that team creating chances. I don't see that team building from the back, like beating a high press on the edge of their 18-yard box, because I don't think the likes of Chris Smalling, although I like Smalling, I don't think he's the most accomplished footballer. Certainly Boye, I wouldn't trust him on the edge of the box under pressure, having to look to play out a la David Luiz, Laporte, John Stones, or any of those type of players. So you're not going to see United, even at their best, for me, with the best team on the pitch, build it from the back through the towards and up the pitch. It's still going to be more a direct style of football. But once you get that ball into the opposition half the pitch, with those players that I've mentioned, then I think you've got enough quality from an attacking point of view to really influence the game higher up the pitch. Pogba arriving late onto the box, Fred, those wide men, Lukaku. There's real threats there. Luke Shaw getting himself involved from the left back position. The young Portuguese lad, I know it's early in his career. So there's real grounds from optimism. There's real talent in this Manchester United
I think the next
team.
manager that goes in will really like what he has to work with.
Well, I think so,
that's why, I don't know, it seems to me they need to get rid of Mourinho as quickly as possible, but we'll have to see how it plays out. 2-0, or sorry, what am I saying? 2-3. It's Spurs 2, Barcelona 3, with 75 minutes on the clock. And it's still 0-0 in Napoli, with Liverpool there. Jordan Henderson on for Keita. And it's definitely a slower game in Napoli. It's not the million miles an hour that we're seeing in Wembley. It's been a good game at Wembley.
It has been a good game, yeah. Reasonably open game. Spoke to Martin Lipton last night. He spoke about potentially Tottenham's game plan. Would they actually take a step back? You know, withdraw towards the edge of their 18-yard box, invite Barcelona on, look to play more of a counter-attacking game, which they can do with the pace of Son, and more in particular looking to break from deep positions, Joe, high up the pitch, and look to isolate PK in those 1v1 situations. But they haven't done it. Probably not unsurprising, because he likes to play in the front foot. Pochettino, he likes to squeeze that back four units close to the halfway line, press and go and engage high up the pitch. But this Barcelona is so good at playing 1-2 touch around the press. And then they got all that space in behind. Messi's been floating balls down the sides, his centre half. So it hasn't been easy to deal with. But give them credit, Joe, they've stuck in the game. Spurs, their heads haven't gone down, and they showed a little bit of character to still hang around in the game. And I'm really pleased to see this fella come off, Fernando Llorente. A lot of people make the point, Harry Kane, they haven't got a good enough replacement. This fella, for me, is good enough to play as a number 2 to Harry Kane. I wouldn't be critical of Pochettino. I'm a huge fan, but I'm really surprised he hasn't had more game time. When Harry Kane's been out of the team, he has been has had his injuries. Why this lad doesn't play automatically, I don't know, because he gives him a different dimension. Like, great header of the ball, great target man. They can go back to front earlier. And at times he's gone with Son up there, there's kind of false number 9, and I don't understand it, because this lad for me looks as if he's low maintenance, he's happy in a way, and it's not a criticism to play second fiddle to Kane, and not many good centre forwards will do that. That's why you can't get a top class centre forward in there who's only going to play half a dozen to a dozen games every season. But this lad has real qualities for me. He's technically very good for a big man, and he's a great header of the ball. And when you're chasing the game and you can find those little pockets into people's feet late on in the game, he's one who can hit early on the diagonal, and he'll win as the majority of balls in the box. So yeah, I think he's been underutilised. I'm a fan of him, Llorente.
Okay. Take a short break, talking Aston Villa next.
Football on Off the Ball,
in association with the faster than ever Boyle Sports app, for exclusive price enhancements on the biggest games around. Download it now. Boyle Sports, time to play.
The Pat Kenny Show.
On tomorrow's programme, as well as all the breaking news, Eamon McCann on why Northern Ireland needs to take control of Brexit, why we fall for scams and how we can avoid them, and the first American journalist to expose Russia's ties to Donald Trump.
The Pat Kenny Show.
With MasterCard.
Tomorrow morning at 9.
On News Talk.
October 26th is polling day. On that day, you will be asked to vote on a change to our constitution. The question is about whether or not we remove the wording that requires blasphemy to be a criminal offence. To get all the facts from a clear and independent source before you make up your mind, go to refcom.ie. Everything your vote means is explained there. Because on October 26th, your vote means everything. Brought to you by the Referendum Commission.
Experience Control GX from Just for Men. The first shampoo with a brain. What makes it so smart? It reduces grey the same way it grows in. Gradually. The more you shampoo with Control GX, the less grey you have. Just use it until you like what you see. How smart is that? Gradually reduce grey with the first shampoo with a brain. Find Control GX in leading supermarkets and Irish pharmacies nationwide.
I think it's mad that everyone thinks all insurers are the same. Chill Insurance compares 14 different insurers to get you the best deal. Chill Insurance Limited, trading as Chill Insurance, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
At M&S, we're committed to bringing you the same great quality at new lower prices. From restaurant-quality gastropub meals and decadent desserts to everyday essentials, you can now enjoy the quality you expect at prices you love. Same great quality, new lower price. M&S. For less. See in store for details.
Cash in when you switch to 3SIM only today. We'll give you a free 3-money prepaid MasterCard with €20 to spend however you like. No long contracts, just all-you-can-eat data with loads of calls and texts. Cash in today at 3.ie or your local 3 store. 3. Make it count. Subject to 3-money registration, 30-day minimum term, all-you-can-eat data, ROI only. The 3-money prepaid MasterCard is issued by Prepaid Financial Services Limited. PFS Limited is authorised by the Financial Conduct Authority in the UK and is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland for conduct of business rules.
Off the ball. This is News Talk.
Unfortunately, it sums up the society we're in at the moment. There's no respect for anyone. Certainly for someone like him. I'm surprised he knew what a cabbage was. I find the whole thing hugely disrespectful. That's Steve Bruce, speaking after his last game in charge at Aston Villa. Nick Mashatir, Midlands football writer for Press Association Sport, is on the line. Evening, Nick.
Hi, how you doing?
Good. No one wants to bow out with a cabbage thrown at them.
No, not so much. It's well, Figo had a pig's head thrown at him, didn't he, a while ago. But
at least a pig's head costs a few quid, you know. Someone's gone to a bit of trouble. But a cabbage, probably on sale that day.
Yeah, you do wonder who turns up, and I think it was before the kickoff as well. So you do wonder who's brought a cabbage with the specific intention to lob it at a manager, really. Strange, and Steve's exactly right. He was hurt last night. I was at the game, and he was clearly almost defeated. I think, shocked, I imagine, as well. But it's very, very rare you see Steve Bruce that low, I think, unfortunately, today's news wasn't a massive surprise.
No, 1 win in 10, and he was under pressure early doors this season when they lost 4-1 at Bramall Lane. So what's happened from playoffs last season to 1 win in 10 this season?
There's obviously a massive upheaval in the summer again with are they going to get taken over? Will they, is it going to happen? They needed to. So to start off with, financially, they were going to struggle. They were always going to struggle if they hadn't got promoted, and of course they didn't. They could have lost Jack Grealish. Arguably, should have done. Tottenham were a little bit slow off the mark to try and take Jack.
Yeah.
Thankfully, they got the new owners in, which did bail them out. But of course, once the new owners come in, there's always that air of doubt whether they want their own men. Were they going to give Steve Bruce time? I think it was exactly the right thing to do to keep Steve Bruce on. It was about July time when they came out with a statement and said, we are going to keep Steve Bruce on.
Because there was a period where Henry was linked with the job, wasn't there? And Steve Bruce talked about spitting out his coffee in the morning when he saw Henry's name linked with the job.
Yeah, I think Henry distanced himself after the fact, but I don't think it went down particularly well. That he certainly could have distanced himself during all the speculation.
Yeah,
I don't. As somebody who's looking for a job, I'm sure it didn't hurt him to be linked with Aston Villa, but to come out and say afterwards that and distance himself from it, I think was probably a little bit cheap.
Nick, how's it going? Ken Cunningham speaking. Are you well?
Yeah, not bad. How are you?
Nick, I know it hasn't been long since the manager's departure, but do you get a feeling amongst the Aston Villa supporters in terms of a groundswell of opinion who potentially would be their preferred choice? It's ridiculous to assume obviously they will have an input, but the modern game, generally speaking, owners look to the fans in terms of who would be their potentially their favourite, and would get immediately the fans on board if they were to bring which they will do, of course, a new manager in.
Yeah, it's interesting that Steve's coaching staff has gone as well. So you look at that and you immediately think, well, the owners have clearly got somebody in mind, because they're not going to leave Kevin McDonald there. I know we've got an international break coming up, of course, but they're not going to leave Kevin McDonald in charge, who's caretaker for the Millwall game on Saturday, in charge for very long. So they've clearly got an idea of where they want to go, first and foremost. Dean Smith at Brentford has been mentioned. Aston Villa have looked at him extensively in the past. Whether he is a big enough name for the owners, we don't know. We haven't been granted an audience with them as yet since they took over, unfortunately. Again, obviously Christian Purslow has come in as chief executive, so we're yet to speak to him. So we're not, in terms of, clued up of what he's thinking, because he hasn't told us yet.
Never easy to entice those managers who are already contracted another club, though, Nick, at this stage of the season, unless you've done your due diligence, a third party, you've spoken to the manager and the club concerned, maybe Brentford, maybe there's a payment there payable, a get out clause from the manager, but it can, as we've seen previously, it can get very messy in terms of trying to extricate managers from a different club.
Yeah, and it's not as simple as thinking. I mean, Dean's a Midlands boy. He's a Villa fan. I worked with him, covered Walsall when he was at Walsall. Did a fantastic job there. Very, very different scale to Aston Villa, of course. Made that great step up to Brentford, doing a brilliant job there. But it's not as easy just to say Aston Villa will come in and take him. He's onto a winner at Brentford. He's building something there. He's allowed to do what he wants to. He's got control. They've got a new stadium coming up, so Aston Villa would have to sell the project to Dean. They can't come in and say Dean and he'll come running.
Nick, that would be in reality, though, that would be a reasonably easy sell. You would imagine. Aston Villa support, you've mentioned Aston Villa. I mean, obviously my loyalties lie across the other side of the city, but Aston Villa is a massive club, a huge club, and difficult to turn that down. I take your point. It's a good one in terms of the loyalty he has towards Brentford and the job that he's doing there. He's certainly building something, but the opportunity to manage a club of the stature of Aston Villa, difficult to walk away from that. The opportunity may never present itself again.
Yeah. The other names I'm seeing are Thierry Henry as the favourite. Sam Allardyce's name is floating around. Mick McCarthy was always going to be linked with a lot of jobs in the Championship this season. And I'm seeing Martin O'Neill at 16-1 floating around. Don't you dare. We had our issues with Stoke. I presume there's no great clamour to get Martin O'Neill back amongst fans, is there?
No, I wouldn't have thought so. I mean, Allardyce as well. One of the problems that the Villa fans did have with Steve Bruce was the style of football. They felt they should be playing a little bit more expansively, a bit more entertained, basically. Would Sam Allardyce bring that? I'm not so sure. The name that was mentioned to me this evening was Paulo Fonseca, who is Shakhtar Donetsk boss. A George Mendes client as well. And Mendes has obviously a little bit of an influence with the board at Aston Villa. So that is one to watch, I think, Paulo Fonseca.
Okay. And so a final one then. What are the ambitions of the owners? What are they about? Are Villa suddenly cash rich and ready to invest on whatever and do whatever it takes to get back to the Premier League?
Yeah, the financial fair play was a massive issue for them. It's interesting that they've gone out and they've tried. They've pushed the boat out basically as well. Everybody was expecting them to be a little bit more reserved, but they've got Yannick Bolasie in. Let's believe they're paying an awful lot of his £70,000 a week wages.
Right.
Tammy Abraham, £50,000 a week as well.
Right. Okay.
So I think they're taking perhaps a little bit of a gamble to get up, and that's probably one of the reasons why Steve Bruce has gone this season. Because if they don't get up this season, financially, it is going to be even more of a struggle, and they will not be able to afford these, these players like Abraham, like Bolasie on loan, because they will have to cut the cloth, and they will have to abide by FFP next year.
Okay, Nick Masheter from PA Sports. Thanks very much, Nick.
Thanks a lot.
Cheers, pleasure. That's Nick Masheter there from PA Sports, Midlands correspondent. So it seems Martin O'Neill is safe.
I never say never in football, Joe. Yeah, but yeah, I think I can understand. He spoke a lot. Obviously, had a close relationship. with Dean Smith. That came across. He's obviously a fan of him, and I think there's a fair argument. It's always interesting when we speak about profile. Does he have a big enough profile? For me, it's overplayed. Thierry Henry could go in there and blow the dressing room away in the first couple of days, a week. 6 weeks down the road, people could be like, nodding their heads thinking this lad's way off his head, doesn't know what he's doing. I'd much rather a Dean Smith go in there, people think, who's this fella? But then 6 weeks later, after the quality of his work on the training pitch, think,
Well, we were speaking
stuff.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Well, we were speaking to Nick Daly. Who scored? Was it Messi?
It was Messi, yeah. Just Spurs, just engineered their own downfall again. Just trying to play out on the edge of that. I mean, it's 2-3 minutes to go. They're spread across the back line. They're trying to play out Barcelona, putting the pressure on, nick it off them. Just work the ball into Messi's feet inside the goal, inside the box and goal. And it's just being practical. I understand Spurs, generally speaking, they want to play, but just through the thirds and up the pitch, keep the ball on the deck, dominate possession, yak.
Yeah.
But there's 2 minutes left in the game.
Yeah.
They're chasing the goal. They've got we spoke about Llorente on the football pitch, 6'3", great head of the ball, great target man. Squeeze up the pitch. Squeeze to the halfway line, smash the ball 60 yards onto his head, get people around them, win the second ball, and you're in. You've got possession of the last third of the pitch where you can actually hurt and potentially create an opportunity to score a goal. I don't see that. That's like common sense football to me. That makes sense.
Big goal on Napoli. Napoli have gone 1-0 up on Liverpool. We'll tell you about that goal next. 1-0 Napoli, minute to go.
Off the ball on News Talk.
The year is 1927, and the work is half done. This will be the core of the scheme, the power station at Ardnacrusher.
In 1927, ESB took a bold first step, harnessing the power of the Shannon to bring light and energy to the nation. Now ESB is leading the way to a clean energy future, powered by electricity, creating a brighter future for all. Find out more at esb.ie.
The best prices in Ireland are about to get even better with the Harvey Norman one-day flash sale. Tomorrow, for one day only, get a further 10% off almost everything in store and online, with 10% off all home and kitchen appliances, 10% off all TVs, cameras, laptops and Apple Mac, 10% off all furniture, beds, mattresses, homewares and more. That's right, a further 10% off almost everything in store and online, only at the Harvey Norman flash sale. Starts online at midnight tonight.
Go! Are you a self-assessed income taxpayer? The October 31st pay and file deadline is approaching fast. The quickest and easiest way to file your return and pay your tax is by using ROS, Revenue's online service. It also gives you until November 14th. Register for ROS today at revenue.ie. Avoid a surcharge, interest, penalties and the risk of a tax audit. Pay and file on time.
Better luck next time, Brian. Funny old game, golf. Now, you got off to a cracking start, by the way.
Here's the question. Did Brian really lose? You see, last week he switched his car insurance to AIG Golfer and got a really great deal.
Pity, because you're putting.
AIG sponsor the GUI and ILGU and have great prices and discounts for
The
golfers.
hazard on the 9th is usually my
So,
water
maybe
due.
some extra bunker lessons from the pro with those savings, Brian. Thanks, AIG.
For quote, visit aig.ie/golf. Terms and conditions apply. AIG Europe Limited is authorised by the Prudential Regulation Authority of the United Kingdom and is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland for conduct of business rules.
Off the ball. This is News Talk.
So it was Insigne with the goal, Kenny, who you're a big fan of, and it's Napoli 1, Liverpool 0. They're into the last 30 seconds of added time in Napoli, and at Wembley it's about to go full time at any moment. Spurs 2, Barcelona 4. It's a bit of a blow for Liverpool. You go away from home, tough place to go. Napoli a good team, and then Insigne pops up in injury time.
Yeah, it's not a huge surprise. Scoring so late obviously stings without a doubt. 0-0 result there this evening, clean sheet off the back of the home pitch against PSG. Very satisfactory in terms of what you would have hoped for, but that's not a huge surprise. I actually thought I listened to Steve McManaman and Michael Owen. McManaman in particular, I thought really talked down Napoli. I don't know, I wouldn't agree with him there at all.
What did he say?
Well, he said more or less a bang average Italian team. Liverpool should be walking all over this team. I don't see it. Yes, Jorginho's come out of that central midfield area, but the rest of the team is pretty much the same. Yeah. And they're well drilled out with some really tasty individual players. No more so than Insigne, plays off the left-hand side, predominantly right-footed, like Coutinho type player.
Yeah.
quality little footballer, clever.
It's gone full time.
Yeah. So no surprise there. Liverpool shouldn't be beating themselves up. Didn't look at their very best, particularly in the first half of the game. But no shame going to Napoli and losing 1-0.
Fair enough. Hugs between Klopp and Ancelotti there. So it's 1-0 in Napoli and it's finished 4-2 in London. So how Spurs feel about life now? They're 0 for 2.
Yeah, they're struggling.
Yeah.
Goes without saying. The Inter Milan was the killer. 1-0 in a comfortable position over there, losing those 2 goals.
Milan, by the way, have come from behind against PSV to win. So Milan are on 6 points.
That's an additional blow. That'll hurt even more when they come into the dressing room, and they just can't really afford to make any more mistakes. I wouldn't say they're dead and buried. Need to beat Inter Milan at home. Obviously. And potentially maybe go over and even get a draw at Barcelona. But again, they didn't embarrass themselves tonight, beaten by the better team.
Yeah.
But they hung around, Joe. They hung around, and at 3-2 they were pushing forward and kind of in the game. But again, for me, shot themselves in the foot again, trying to overplay in the wrong areas late on, and Barcelona picked them off. But a depleted Tottenham team, let's not forget. So again, similar to Liverpool result, no shame whatsoever, because that was a really good performance from Barcelona. Probably untypical of the performances so far this season.
Yeah, fair enough. Isabel Doyle from Monaghan correctly identified Roy Hodgson as our mystery voice. So Isabel, you are in the draw for the Liverpool-Napoli December game, and you get a €50 one-for-all voucher this evening just to make your Wednesday evening a bit sweeter. OTBAM is back tomorrow, 7:45, and the Keith Andrews show tomorrow. Guess who's on the Keith Andrews show tomorrow? Johnny Walters.
John Walters.
Might have a little word about Johnny Walters. Any disagreements with any? Any issues? That'll be worth tuning in for.
That will be, yeah.
And
how
then,
brave is Keith going to be with his line of questions?
Well, I'm in with him, so if Keith's not getting brave, I'm going to jump in. So John Giles then, of course, tomorrow, Thursday night. Richie will be in the hot seat. Jeff Perlman as well will be with the lads. Uli Hesse on Hertha Berlin and their fine form this season, and all the Europa League action. Tom Dunn is on the way. Kenny Cunningham, 2 nights together.
Wow.
We did it.
Let's do it again, Joe.
Sometime.
Not in the near future, but let's do it again.
Ah, dear. Right, okay, that's Kenny. Tom Dunn's next. Goodbye.
K channel. All the highlights are at 10:30.
We'll see what the boys are saying.